Hello and welcome to the Commander's Forge. I am your host, Andrew Bentley, and the Commander's Forge is an area for me to talk about Commander and Magic in ways that I enjoy. Today we're going to start with talking about some secret lairs. Not necessarily what's in them or anything to do with that, but just the sheer amount of them that we've seen this year. It's too much. It's way too much. Between December of 2019 and this December, there have been 31 secret lair drops. And don't get me wrong, some were cool. Of the 31, I bought 5. I bought one set of 5. That was the Theros Stargazing set. And that's only because Theros is one of my favorite sets, and I love the gods. Other than that, I can't justify spending the money on it. It's just, I don't really want to turn this into a discussion about the Walking Dead secret lair, so I'm not going to. But there's a lot wrong with that, let alone just the sheer number of secret lairs that have been released. It's just, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy a lot of the art directions they've taken, especially with things like the Teferi's Protection, where it's Teferi with his daughter. And if I find any of the people that were editing it to make it look not like it was intended, I might smack them upside the head. But yeah, speaking of art, one of the ones that's available now, the Party Hard Shred Harder, all of the cards are in immaculate art that mimics so many metal bands, and I love it. That Thraxamundar is on point. That said, I'm not going to buy it, and I doubt I'm going to be buying any more. Yeah, honestly, when they announced the Fetchland secret lair, I was very, very disappointed. That is not what I would call a meaningful reprint. But I'm just getting into salt territory, so I'm just going to back off. And instead I'm going to move into my next topic, which is Dargons, which is what me and my cousin call dragons. Now, I have a Kolaghan The Storm's Fury commander deck, and I thought about doing a deck tech on it. And then I thought, the story behind it is a little more impactful, so I'm going to walk you through how I got my Dargon deck. And it starts in 2015 with Atarka, World Render. Now, Atarka is a 6/4 Dargon that costs 5 red-green with flying, trample, and whenever a Dargon you control attacks, it gains double strike until end of turn. So this was just a big, stompy, gruel, aggro Dargon deck. And it was a lot of fun, and my play group absolutely hated it. And it persisted almost through the entirety of 2015 until the release of Commander 2016 and the release of Saskia the Unyielding. Now, Commander 2016 was when they introduced all of the 4-color legendary creatures, and Saskia was the one that was missing blue, meaning she cost black, red, green, and white. She was a 3/4 human soldier with vigilance and haste. And as she enters the battlefield, you choose a player. And then whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, it deals that much damage to the chosen player. This gave me the ability to add more Dargons. In particular, I could add Kolaghan and Dramoka. Kolaghan being a 4/5 Dargon for 3 black red with flying that said whenever a dragon you control attacks, creatures you control get +1/+0 to end a turn. And it has dash for 3 black and a red. That means that you can cast a spell for its dash cost. If you do, it gains haste, and then it returns to your hand at the beginning of the end step. And Dromoka the Eternal was a 5/5 Dargon for 3 green-white with flying, and whenever a dragon you control attacks, bolster 2. So the creature you control with the least toughness gets 2 +1/+1 counters. I thought, with Saskia naming a character and a Tarka, that means that your double striking dragons hit one player and a second player. And I absolutely love that idea. And that deck stuck around until Commander 2017 with the release of the Dragon. Now, the Dragon is a 10/10 dragon avatar for 4 white, blue, black, red, and a green. Its Eminence ability, which is an ability that I am not a fan of, and I've cut many of them out, but as long as your dragon is in the command zone or on the battlefield, other dragons you cast cost 1 less to cast. And then whenever one or more dragons you control attacks, you draw that many cards, and then you can put a permanent from your hand onto the battlefield. As you can guess, this was an extremely powerful deck, and it was in the year where the commander decks were all tribal based, so it came with a bunch of dragons. I had a bunch of them. I smashed them together. I played the deck maybe 20 times, and then I took it apart because it was too good. And I ended up building Lathless that came out in the 2019 core set. Mono red dragons, because I figured it wouldn't get as much hate and it wouldn't be anywhere near as good. But it was actually pretty good, and I enjoyed it, and it kind of led me down this, I don't want to focus on what red can't do. I'm just going to do what I can do really, really well. But I wasn't done with it yet, because it just, people like to kill dragons. And I thought, what's a good way to counteract that? And then I thought, you know what? Kolaghan doesn't get enough love. So I built Kolaghan, the Storm's Fury. And I built it in a way that can kind of just come out of nowhere. Honestly, if you saw the game I played the other day with it, it just consistently had threats on the board. It's so much fun to play, and it's not overpowered to a point where it's not going to be fun to play. Sure, there's room for improvements, and there are some cards I have in there that are kind of holding a place until I get something better to replace them. But it's never going to be like a competitive deck. It's big, stupid Dargons. And big, stupid Dargons is exactly what I like to do. And that's really all I had to talk about this week. Although I do want to give one shout out to the Commander Brews guys, Andy and Sean, because thanks to them, my setup for webcam EDH isn't completely washed out by my lighting. So thanks, guys. And I believe by the time this goes up, I will have played a sealed league game with the Commander Social guys. So you might see that somewhere on their YouTube channel, because I am not going to record it. With that, I do believe I'm going to draw it to a close, and I will make sure that the deck list for the Kolaghan deck is in the description down below. That brings us to the end of the podcast. I would like to thank Nate and Erica Jacobs for designing my logo, and Cody Mulphy and Ian Foss for allowing me to use a sample of music from their band, The Crypt. The podcast can be found on YouTube by searching Commander's Forge. The podcast is Commander's Forge, that is CMDR_Forge on Twitter. I can be found on Twitter at BentzMr, that is BentzMR. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time, and until then, here's to fun games and sick plays.